Hello everyone, so welcome to this tutorial with King, and here in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to work your magic with your cameras, having multiple cameras in your scene, and how you can switch between various cameras. And right now you can see that I've done this rough block out of an environment and this hovering car that I modeled in, I think was the Saturday or the Friday class we had last week. So yeah, so I've done this animation, and this is basically your assignment 2. I want you to render this out in your own view, okay? um, your own design, wherever you think of it, just go ahead and do it, and let me see what your finished work will be like. Okay, so right now I'll just tell you, I have various collections. I have my building collection. My building collection consists of all the buildings in the scene. That's just to enable me have, you see, they were just cubes, I just modified this just to enable me organize my work. And now I have my cameras over here. I can right click and go to select all objects, and you can see all the, you see we have one over here, we have one over here, and we have one over here. So now with these cameras in the scene, we want to open our timeline. You can see my animation is just about 160 seconds. Yeah, that's okay for the speed of my car to capture everything. So now the thing is that I just have to work my angle. I do my animation starting from here, so I want this camera to watch him from here as he goes. Then as he enters into our blind spot, and maybe somewhere around here, you can switch to this camera over here. And maybe somewhere around here, you can switch to this camera over here. So I'm going to call this cam 1, call this one cam 2, and 3. So 3 will start from somewhere here. Sorry, let me switch to, let's make it monthly. When the car gets over here, 3 will become active. From here, we want 2 to become active, and for the duration of this length, we want this guy to be active. Yeah, for the duration of this length. So 2 will be active from this length to here, then y3 will be active from here back here. Okay, so how do we do this? We have already planned it with our camera, so we know what we're expecting. Okay, so right now I'm going to switch back to my select tool and come over here. Now by active, I don't mean that, oh, which camera is selected. I mean this camera can be selected, but when I go to camera view by pressing, hold on, sorry, when I go to my camera view by pressing I'll turn on my screencast key, please. Let me do that quickly for you guys. Review again, yes, become active. Okay, so when I hit my numpad 0, you can see that the current active camera is this one, even though it is not the camera I selected. So active does not mean selected. Because it's yellow is like this does not mean active. You can only have one active camera at a time, yes, when you are rendering. So I'm sure there are other ways you can boycott that, but currently we want to make this guy active, and the way we will make him active is by right clicking on him. And you can see when we right click, it says set active camera. The shortcut is Ctrl 0. So if I hit Ctrl and 0 on my numpad, you can see that this is where the camera is looking at currently. So the first thing we want to do before we start switching, we want to use a constraint to tell this camera to focus on this object no matter what. Yeah, and the way we do that is by using a particular constraint called you can see we have, when you select on the camera, you have a perspective view. Let me go into the camera view. Okay, now if you want to pilot your camera, sorry, you can come into your active view and click on this lock button over here on the right side of your screen. Once you toggle it, this enables you, when you move your view, the camera moves with you. So when you're moving around the scene, like now I hold shift and I'm clicking my middle mouse button and dragging, you can see that the camera keeps moving along with me. So yes, you can pilot your camera like that, and once you're done, you leave the view. The second way, you can move your screen and get to where you want the camera to be at there, and you can use Ctrl-Alt-0 to bring your camera to your current view. Okay, so I'll make sure this is not toggled so that when I leave, the camera remains here. So I can select this guy and right click and say set as active camera. So I'm not looking for from the view. I'll lock it. Either I lock it or I just unlock it, and I want the camera to start from here. I want it to look at my scene like this. So because this guy is deactive, once I hit Ctrl-Alt-0, it's going to bring my camera right to my view. Yeah, so I can leave there and say this is where you're going to start. Okay, that's it for that. Then now I was talking about a constraint. So we want all three of these cameras to look at this guy at all time because he's the subject of our scene. Okay, so how do we do that? We right click on the camera we want to track, and we are going to the constraint over here. Yeah, you can see it says object constraint properties. So once you click on this object constraint properties, you see this add object constraint. It's like a drop down. So you click on the arrow, it brings all the constraints that are available for you for that object selected. And what we're interested in is track to. You can see it says add a constraint to active object, legacy tracking constraint prone to twisting artifacts. Just trying to give you some warnings and all that. So we can say track to. So once you click on track to, it's not, you can see this blue line. Sorry, I need to erase this so that it stops. Though I wanted this to be like a guide. So you can see it's moving over here, but if I play forward like this, I'm doing that by I'm scrubbing through my timeline by holding Alt and moving forward and backward my middle mouse. Moving it backward plays the animation forward. Moving it, scrubbing backwards with the middle mouse button just does the reverse of that. Okay, you can see it's not tracking my camera. Instead, you see at this point here, you see that will be the spot where red, that's x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis meet. That's what it's pointing out, because it's pointing there because you have not told it where you want it to track to. So in order to tell you where you want it to track to, all you have to do is select this eyedropper here, target. You have to give it a target and click on the object. So I want you to pay attention to the camera over here and this blue line. Once I click on this object, you see it's now pointing to the origin point of the car. Yeah, so it's not the car itself, it's pointing to the origin point of the car. So I right click again, set as active. So when I scroll backwards and forward, you can see the camera is looking, it maintains its gaze on the car. So from this point on, obviously we want this guy to become active, so we set active, yeah, and we scroll backwards, and the same way we are going to go to the constraint with the camera selected, of course. Go to the constraint, track to, and give it a target. We want you to target this car. So you can see that now it's not targeting the car. But if I was to scroll backwards to before here, the other camera is supposed to be active, yes, but that's not the case, which is what we are trying to fix in this tutorial. So I'll come over here to this next one. At this point, we said 3. Can you remember what we drew over here? Let me go into the perspective in which I drew it. Okay, we said that this camera is supposed to become active somewhere here at this point. Yeah, so I'm going to right click and set as active. I already positioned this camera properly, but it does not mean that it's tracking it. Let me lock and look away. Sorry, let me lock and do we want to, maybe we want to get this from a lower angle like this. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the shot and I like the way it looks from here. So I want to get this from here. At this point I think we can erase the I need to unlock this. Please always remember to unlock that before you do any other action, so you don't mess with what you have already set. Okay, so I'm going to hold control and just erase this quickly. And now, so we now have this guy over here, and what we're going to do also is I'm going to give him the track to constraint, set as active first of all, then add the track to constraint over here and select this object as the object is tracking to. Okay, so sorry, I press 0 to go to the view of the active camera, and I'll just scroll backwards and forward, so it means he catches this guy from here and zooms, does a little drifting in the air, then zooms. Okay, so yeah, this is where our animation ends. No, okay, I think it ends. We can extend it a bit more to somewhere like this, and yeah, so I'll take it to, I'm going to extend the animation to 190. Yeah, okay, so we've done all this, which is beautiful. So let's go back to frame 1. I'll do that by doing shift and backwards direction, and now I press 0 again, I go to the current active, I press 0, I leave the current active. So now how do we now get this guy to be active for the duration we need him to be active? This other one to be active for the next duration, and this one, that is possible by using what we call markers. I'm going to delete this, please. Okay, so markers, what are markers? You can see the name here, markers. The way you set a marker for your timeline is by pressing M. Yeah, it's like marking, I want this camera to be active here. Once you press M while your mouse is on your view timeline, it's going to create this new marker. So you can see I've scrubbed it. So I'm going forward and I'll go to where the next transition for the camera is supposed to happen. So it screeches, turns and zooms. As it goes, it's entering into our blind view. Let's make this one the active camera. So as it's going away from our view, just about the last scene, that's this is me just scrubbing through the timeline. For me it is 75, so I'll put another marker over there, and at this marker I'll leave this guy. I'll go to the next camera and make him active, set as active. Yeah, and I'll just scrub through this animation to, yeah, something like this. Then somewhere around here, yeah, somewhere around here we want it to switch to this camera. So I'm going to select that guy, go to set as active camera, and I'll set another marker over here, M. Now when I play this animation, you see that it's still this active, the last camera I made active is still the one that's going for all the frames, which means that we are not done with what we needed to do. Yes, so what we're going to do now is we're not going to start assigning these cameras to these markers over here, telling it, okay, I want you to be the active camera from this duration till you get another command saying that you get another marker saying that this other camera should be active. Then this one becomes active until it gets to the next marker where we have assigned another camera, then that one becomes active for the rest. So that's simply the logic. And the way we do this is we go back to frame 1, we select the camera we want to bind to this marker here. So you select the camera, and the camera we want to bind to it is this guy over here for the beginning frame 1. Yeah, so the way we do that is we select this guy, we make sure our timeline, our playhead is on the frame where the marker is. Yeah, then you can see the name of the camera over here, camera .001. yeah, which means it's a duplicated camera. So after that, you come over here to marker, you click on marker, then you select, you come over here, you see the drop down menu, jump to previous marker, blah blah blah. This is what we're interested in: bind camera to markers. You can see the shortcut Control B. I want you to remember this because this is how I'm going to do it for the next few ones. So this first one, I wanted to just show you. You come to the marker, click on it, and go over to bind camera to marker. So you click on bind camera to marker. You can see the marker name down here has not changed to repeat. It now shows the camera icon and it's telling you the name of the camera over there. 001 is what is binded to this marker. So now we'll move forward to the frame where we have the next marker, which is this guy, and who's supposed to be the next camera that's supposed to become active, this guy over here. So we are going to click on this guy, right click, we're going to click on him and come over here. I'll do this one more time to marker. You can see my playhead is on the second marker now, and I'm going to go to marker, click and bind camera to marker. You can see camera, that's the name of the camera. This was the first one that every other one got duplicated from. That's why it has no .00 suffix following it. So we have now set this guy as the second active camera down the timeline, so which means that we have to get to this point. So I'll just click on frame 120 over here to take it to the next point, select this camera, and this time I'll use the shortcut Control B. Sorry, you make sure your mouse is in your timeline and press Control B, so it binds this camera 002 to this current marker. Now with that done, I want us to now play our animation and see how that turns out. Okay, so scene too dark, so let me put it in this one, or better yet, I like to use the random colors. Okay, so now when I play, you see the camera is tracking, it gets here, switches to the next one, gets, switches to the next one. See, like that, we are done with this animation. Okay, so also note that it is possible to add multiple trackers. So you can tell one camera to track something, a particular thing to this point, and from this next angle you can zero the influence. You can see the influence can be keyframed. One means he has complete influence. If I zero it, you see it loses influence and go back to the default position before we added the influence. So at the point, if you had two trackers, you could say okay, let me put it like this. Let me put an object over here, Shift A, and put a cube. Yeah, I'll scale the cube up, G, Z, yeah. And for the duration of when he's here, I'm going to move this guy forward like this. So let's say this is a character, yeah. This is a character in our scene, and we are like, okay, do you know what? Sorry, this is not my timeline. Let me switch to my timeline. We're like, okay, in this frame, I want you to be here. I press I store that keyframe for the cube, yeah. And I now say that when the car is over here, I want that cube to have gotten over here. Let me turn on my auto keyframe so that I don't have to be doing this. I want that cube to have gotten over here. Yeah, I want it to have gotten over here. So if I scroll back now, you now see that my cube is now animated. I'm going to select both keyframes, right click, and change the interpolation mode to linear. I want it to move at a constant speed. So the car is moving, and you see this point over here. Yeah, at this point I want this current active camera to switch from this car, which has been tracking, to this guy. How will I do that? Just before the frame where I want the switch to, I'll move my playhead using left and right direction. You can see I want it to become, this one to become the thing is tracking, yeah, to this point. So the way I'll do that is that I'll come back here to this frame, yeah, where I want it to start losing influence, I'll select my camera, which is this dotted line over here, and let me add another track to constraint. Yeah, but you see it's tracking to nothing. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'll store a keyframe for this camera now. Yeah, by using these white dots, you can create keyframes for any of these values using these white dots that are available here. So I'm going to keyframe the influence at 1, which is 100% for this one. Yeah, and move one frame forward so I was at 169 just now, so I keyframed this at 100%, which means that as long as I didn't put 0 in front of before 169, it means that this one is going to be 100% from 0 to this point until it sees a change. Yeah, so I keyframe it at 100% here. Then I want it to lose its influence over 2 frames. Yeah, so at this frame here, I'm going to keyframe this one at 0. So you can see, because my auto keyframe is on, as I slided it to 0, it stored a new keyframe over here. So you see it's losing influence over these two keyframe 170 and 171. Yeah, so what I want to do is that one loses the keyframe for the second one, which is tracking to the cube. I have to make sure I see the cube. Hold on, let me look for a frame I can see the cube. Okay, so I come to the second track to constraint and select this cube. You can see it's not tracking the cube throughout the shot, which is not what we want, which means that at the frame where 169, where the first track to constraint that's tracking the car is 100%, this one has to be 0. So we're going to take this guy to 0 and store the keyframe. Yeah, so it means that the cube is 0 at that point, and at this point here we can increase it to 1. That's when the constraint to the car becomes 0. This one will be 1. So it's like we're switching computers 1s and 0s. Yeah, so 1 meaning on, 0 meaning off. So we're saying this one is on at this frame and this one will be off at this frame also. So as this other one is turning off, this one should be on. That's basically what we're doing. Yeah, so once we have done that, we'll now see that when the animation is playing, you can see that I think we can even select both of them and extend them. I don't want them to occur too fast, so let's see that the transition is occurring too fast. I'll move this guy's G back, so you can see it transitions over these frames. Yeah, now let's play it. Let's see what happens. Car moves, the second camera kicks in, third camera kicks in, follows the car, then switches to the cube. Can you see that? So with that, I hope you'll be able to work your way around using the cameras for this assignment. Yeah, so I'll play it one more time in my color view. Maybe I'll go to my world settings and kind of increase the brightness of the scene. So I'll see you in the next one, and I also create a separate tutorial for the run, jump and slide animation using the camera walk too. But I said let me put this one out there to help you guys with your current assignments. Okay.